We've always said that. I mean, we're never going to put on a race unless there's a reason for it. Mm-hmm. There's a hook. There's something that makes it fun. If you look at Road to Hell, that's probably the most fun we've had building out a website. There's purgatory loops for the distances that don't go to hell. There's Dante's Inferno courts all over the place. There's a reason for it to exist. It's fun and it's different. Or it's something like Fondo.
That's a great example.
Which may have gone away, but it's too important of a race to the community to let that happen. So we're happy to step in and try to carry on that legacy that Bob's created with the MSU Grand Fondo.
From KOM Cycling and Michigan Midpack Media, welcome to the Dirty Chain Podcast, the podcast that covers the cycling scene from the viewpoint of the Michigan Midpack. I am your host, Trevor, and on this episode, I talk with John Conkling and John Mosey from Tris4Health, the racing production company that is putting on several events now in the Michigan area, including but not limited to the Grand Rapids Triathlon, Michigan Titanium Triathlon, the Dirty Mitten Gravel Triathlon, the Road to Hell Gravel Race, and new to this year, the newly branded Grand Rapids Fondo, formerly the MSU Grand Fondo. Now, John and John are no strangers to the podcast. And as we discuss later in the conversation, I think it was about 3 years ago where they came on the show promoting their Dirty Mitten Gravel Triathlon. And quickly since then, they have built out quite the race portfolio that now includes around 9 events, ranging from triathlons to full-on gravel races, and even some running events as well. And we have a cool conversation about their progression as race directors, how that all came to be, the difference between taking over a large race and creating a race, their responsibility they have as race directors, and what most they are looking forward to in this 2023 season. It was great catching up with those guys again, and let's get right to that conversation. John and John from Tris4Health.
Fancy couch.
No, before I interrupted you, but you were telling me about going to Barry-Roubaix. Was it this last year?
Yeah, last
And so
spring.
that was that was your first gravel experience. Did you just go to...
Just spectate.
Just spectate?
Yeah, because we literally had Waterloo G&G 2 or 3 weeks later.
Yep.
And I was like, I should probably check this out to make sure that, we're set. And yeah.
Well, and then the issue with us going to these events with our recent expansions is we just start walking around and people are like, why are you two here? We're just spectating. That's it. Just spectating. Why are you guys here? Just to spectate.
What do they think? Like you're going to buy up
That's
all
what
these
they
races?
thought. And yeah, we're like, no, I swear to God. We literally have an event in a couple weeks and I'm just checking this out. So
Because we went from 3 to 8 events in a year.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have been, let's back up a little bit. I mean, but I am here at the headquarters. What's the title of your? Is it Tris4Health?
Tris4Health.
Okay, the Tris4Health
Yep.
headquarters in Grand Rapids. Is this technically Grand Rapids or Wyoming?
Wyoming,
Grand Rapids. And this is a new building and a new space for the two of you, right?
It is. Yeah, we're giving this a real go as far as a real business. So yeah, I mean, I've been kind of full time since we took over the original events that got us into this, and he just jumped into the deep end with me here, just a couple months ago.
So yeah. I saw that on Facebook, John, that you left your other job and then have turned your attention to this full time. But other John, Conkling, Mosey, Conkling, how long have you been doing this full time?
Pretty much since the fall of 2019.
Okay.
So I basically act as our in-house marketing agency because that's kind of my background.
The first time we talked to the both of you, neither of you were full time, right?
Well,
this was still kind of a part time.
Well, I kind of was. I was still doing a little bit of part-time, like design work and whatnot.
Gotcha.
But most of my energy was focused on this. Yeah, I think we talked in early 2020. Wasn't it? Pre-COVID?
Yeah, I think so. It's pre-COVID.
It was, I mean, it was pre-COVID, but I wasn't sure.
Because we were all excited for the Dirty Mitten. The first year of the Dirty Mitten before that got canned like everything else.
Yeah. And so, it's interesting. I was thinking about that, and it's kind of a cool way to look at your progression from the triathlons that the two of you were putting on, and then the Dirty Mitten, which is also a triathlon. But from that to now, which, John, you said, how many events are you?
We have 9, and if you add our 2 kids' events, we're actually up to 11 total events.
Okay.
Yeah. And mostly are gravel now.
Yeah.
Actually.
Can you name them all?
In our sleep.
Yep. You want to go?
Sure. So we have Waterloo G&G, which is a late April event.
That's gravel.
Yep, that's gravel. We've got Grand Rapids Triathlon, which is a June event. That's a 2-day, big triathlon. We now have the former MSU Grand Fondo, which is the GR Grand Fondo.
Yeah.
Also in June. Then we have Ugly Dog Gravel Tri in July. Michigan Titanium in August. Brainy Day Trail Run in August. We've got the Dirty Mitten Gravel Bike Race, and then the Dirty Mitten Gravel Tri over a whole weekend late September. And then we finish up with Road to Hell, which is another gravel bike event in early October.
Wow. That is a full schedule for, just for an area, not to mention just for the two of you to be putting it on. So it makes sense that you are full time with this and have a space to help you. And this is like you kind of were showing me around when I first came in here, and I dig it. It's legitimate, and you have a nice office space, and in the back, a huge warehouse that's housing a ton of, I don't know. I mean, I saw what do they call it?
Barricades.
The barricades, and a lot of, there's like soda and stuff from after race festivities, and a lot of banners and things.
Literally tons of T-shirts.
Yeah, T-shirts, medals, bike racks, more signage than I think we could even count at this point.
Are you able to? Can you get everything that you need for these races in this space?
Yes.
Yeah, we do have a 28-foot trailer out there that's full too.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, this space will serve us pretty well for the next few years.
Yeah.
Provided we don't grow to 50 events or something crazy.
Was this the plan? I mean, I don't think we talked about this the first time we talked. I think we were mostly talking about the Dirty Mitten.
Right.
But I don't think we really talked about you guys just as race promoters, as race directors, as race creators. Is this what you were dreaming of ultimately?
Probably in the back of our heads.
Yeah, the goal was to always do it full time. Neither of us want to have a quote unquote real job.
But we, pre-COVID, we had kind of a plan. Maybe we'll expand to 5 events in the first 3 or 5 years. Very slow, kind of, purposeful kind of growth. And then COVID hit, and when we started coming out of it, and we were able to kind of have our 2 regular triathlons finally in 2020, we were able to put on the Dirty Mitten. After that, from December into January, opportunities were literally coming weekly as far as events to take over, events to create.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't stopped. We've turned down events at this point. It's kind of nuts. We're literally throwing any plan we had out the window at this point and just kind of staying open to what comes next.
Yeah, you said events that were already established and then new events. And I think that's one thing that stands out to me is, I mean, you have like a Waterloo Grit and Gravel or an MSU Grand Fondo, now Grand Rapids Grand Fondo. Those are two events that have been established, that have been around. And then Road to Hell is a brand new event, right? Yeah. So like I kind of like how there is a mixture of brand new experiences for people, and then also kind of you can build on some of the momentum of these other events that have been like fixtures in the community already.
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate in that we have some of these larger events, so they can help kind of carry some of these smaller, newer events that we want to launch while they try to find their feet, which, a lot of people as they start a race don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
It works out well.
Yeah, I mean, when we create an event, there's a certain level of ownership and excitement because we can really kind of do what we want. Road to Hell, we were approached by the Southern Michigan Outdoors, basically, which is on the other side of the state, primarily, eastern side of the state, and they wanted to create an event to really focus all of the outdoor assets out there. And we were one of the names that got floated, and they set up a meeting, and we're like, yeah, let's brainstorm something, and Road to Hell kind of came out of that.
Yeah.
But with Waterloo and even the Fondo, I mean, there's just a different level of excitement with that because they are established and we kind of have some stuff to build off of. But at the same time, we try to put our own spin on it and kind of make it our own.
Sure. Backing up even further, and I know we talked about this now probably 3 years ago, I guess it would be almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's been that long. Seems like about 6 weeks.
And we did discuss how the two of you got into this business in the first place, but let's revisit that quickly. And can you explain about how the two of you got involved in the triathlon side of things, and then how that's kind of grown into what you're doing now?
That's a Mosey story.
Okay. We've been athletes for years, mainly triathletes. I guess I'd probably identify as more of a gravel cyclist nowadays. And I got lost on a training ride back in 2016, ended up on basically the equivalent of Sager Road up north, Jeep, trail road, things like that. And I was on my gravel bike with skinny tires, or on my tri bike. And I decided that this would make an awesome triathlon. Someone should do this. And I kind of put it in the back of my head for a few years, and we were on the way down to Land Run, now Mid-South.
Mid-South, yeah.
And a buddy mentioned, something about Grand Rapids Tri, and I reached out to Ann and Andy, the previous owners, about renting some equipment and things, and had a meeting with them and walked out with the possibility of taking over their two races. And I called John, and I said, this isn't a one-person job. And before I finished my sentence, he said, I'm in.
Yeah.
And so then from there, we had the idea we'd hoped to put on a couple of races and eventually add the Dirty Mitten. COVID kind of put a kibosh on that. We joked that we were just race planners for a couple of years. We didn't actually put anything on, like everyone else. But yeah, then we got to come back in 21. Mm-hmm. We had the GR Tri, Michigan Titanium. They went great. We added the Dirty Mitten Tri, which that's probably the most fun I've had at any event as a director or a participant.
Oh, nice.
It brings that kind of laid back gravel feel to triathlon. But even then, we had probably 20-30% of the people did identify as gravel cyclists. Mm-hmm. So we got them to try something different, which is really fun. You don't have to be able to swim. There's duathlon. You can just run and bike. You can get on a relay. Yeah, and then we've just kind of been going from there.
Yeah, we kind of hit that sweet spot that summer of 21. Like, stuff opened literally 3 weeks before GR Tri happened, and things felt pretty normal at the events, which was, we had all the COVID precautions and safety measures, like everyone else, but it was just a really good summer.
Yeah.
And we just had great momentum coming out of that. And like I said, opportunities just started happening.
Man, I love how that it kind of started. Of course, like, this all started with triathlons, and it's in your name, Tris4Health. You're definitely a triathlon. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't say focus, because now it seems like the majority of the events underneath in the umbrella they're not triathlons, but I like how it kind of started with a gravel adventure.
Really did.
Yep.
That you're on, Sager Road, on a bike that shouldn't be on Sager Road, which is like basically most gravel adventures, and I love how that's what helped create what is now Tris4Health and all the different races.
And we do go back to rebranding occasionally, but I drive him nuts with it. We just got so much money invested in signage in the name Tris4Health.
Yeah, I mean, we've really been building the name up to make it so that, whether it's a triathlon or a gravel cycling event or a gravel tri or even a trail run or a road cycling event now, it's kind of all a certain level of production and athlete focus. I mean, we spend a ton of time thinking about what would be best for the athlete at that particular event and then trying to, make it even better. So hopefully the name, even though it's Tris, it's becoming a little bit more synonymous with just having a really great race day no matter what the event is and having a good time at it and wanting to do it again.
Yeah. Waterloo's a good example of that, being athlete focused. It was coming from the tri background. It was pretty funny last year when we put on Waterloo. The gravel cyclists finished and they were really excited because we had bananas. They didn't know if they could take a banana in a water, and we were like, well, yeah, you can have that, but then we also catered in barbecue from Smokehouse 52 in Chelsea. We're like, or you could go have like an actual lunch and barbecue and mac and cheese and
I mean, it was all part of the registration fee.
Yeah, they were a little shocked by that. The gravel crowd's been a little different. It's been pretty interesting. Also, compared to Type A triathletes, they sign up literally 15 minutes before the race.
Oh yeah.
They'll roll up in their car, they'll hop out. They're like, hey, where do I sign up? We're like, we're starting in like 10 minutes. They're like, okay.
Yeah, that's funny. I was going to ask from your perspective, the difference in, or like the vibe of, say, the Grand Rapids Triathlon versus even Waterloo or the Road to Hell. Like, these are like, on paper, they're both kind of endurance activities that involve a bicycle, but probably when you're there, they couldn't be more polar opposites.
It's like a different planet when you really compare the two, because I mean, we've got triathletes showing up at 4 a.m, for, certain events. And then we've got gravel cyclists showing up 5 minutes beforehand. But even just doing single sport is just vastly easier to do. When we did Waterloo, it was our first single sport event in addition to our first gravel cycling event. And Mosey and I were setting up all day with a couple buddies the day before. We were done early. We got to go to packet pickup, eat, and get a drink. And we're like, "Is this it?" Wow. Even breaking down. I mean, the race was over, and we had everything broken down and loaded in the trailer inside of an hour. And usually, we're busting our hump for another 3-4 days post triathlon event to just get everything kind of put to bed. So just the whole vibe from a production and from a athlete standpoint, it's just vastly different.
But one of the things we've tried to do is bring that after party feel of triathlon, because they do expect a lot post race. We've tried to bring that to some of our gravel events, similar to what they do at Barry-Roubaix. And we've had a lot of success with that, a lot of good feedback. I mean, Road to Hell, we had a national touring act play as a band.
Yeah, full-on concert. It was crazy.
Yeah.
With an insanely large stage, and it was insane. The guy was singing, riding around on people's bikes, and grabbing beer. Fun. It was fantastic.
That's very cool. Do you, we kind of opened this with the two of you doing a little reconnaissance at Barry-Roubaix. And I think it's fair to say that in this scene that you're both kind of newer offerings. Some of the races aren't. Some of the races are newer, but you taking them over or you offering like Tris4Health in this space is a newer thing. Do you find that to be a difficult? Is that difficult to kind of get into the scene, or is it a welcome addition from other people, or are you struggling with that a little bit?
I wouldn't say it's been a hard thing for us to do. I mean, at the end of the day, we have a lot of great events in Michigan, period. I mean, we're very fortunate. Just anyone living here and they want to do gravel or tris or whatever, running, I mean, you can do it here. Incredibly fortunate. So, when we're moving into some of these new spaces, we're just kind of doing our thing and just trying to do the best that we can do for that event, and just try to, high tide raises all ships kind of philosophy is kind of what we try to go by. So if we're new to gravel, it's, we're just trying to do a great thing for the athletes and just do our thing. And it's hard to bring athletes to events, especially new ones, but they're growing. We kind of play a long game with this stuff.
Sure.
We're not expecting a 3,000 person gravel cycling event at Road to Hell, year one. I mean, that could take a long time, but we're just going to keep doing our best. Yeah,
and I mean, I would hope that wouldn't be met with anything other than support and openness. And it's tough. I look back at like last year, and you saw a lot of races that had scheduling conflicts. And then when I see that as an athlete or just a lover of the gravel scene, I get a little concerned about how that is going to play out in the future. And you got to start somewhere. You got to get a new race on the calendar somehow, And so maybe the first year there's some conflicts, and maybe the second year it's easier to. And it wasn't just. It was a lot of races kind of conflicting, and then new races showing up, and big. It just kind of. It gets. I get concerned sometimes about like an oversaturation of the market, I guess.
Right.
But then there's got to be a way of. There's only one way that it can grow, and the more opportunities for athletes, that live like on the east side or the west side or the south or the Upper Peninsula. Like not everyone wants to travel to the Upper Peninsula for a race. It's just the way it is. So if there are more offerings, then absolutely I welcome that.
Road to Hell was a great example of that. When we set that date last year, early October, there was kind of a hole in the schedule.
Yeah, we had set that back in January?
Before that even.
Yeah.
And then by the time that rolled around, there were 4 races.
Yep.
One of them was, Belgian Waffle Ride coming in. And, we've talked to the local guys like Rusty Fish and Gilmore and things like that. And we're all trying to stay off each other's weekends as best we can. I think Rusty Fish
that was on the same weekend as well.
Same day, yeah. And, in Michigan, West Michigan, everyone's nice, plays nice. We all try to stay off each other's weekends, but like you say, there's getting to be so many races that it's getting to be impossible. And at some point, there will be some contraction, which, the good races will stay around, and some of the smaller ones or ones that maybe, people have done too many times will go away.
Yeah.
Hopefully we stay around.
Yeah, we're kind of fortunate in that we're seeing a lot of triathletes moving to gravel just for training rides. I mean, it's if they've been in it for 10 or 15 years and they're doing a GR Tri or a Michigan Titanium, they're looking for something different. So in a sense, we're kind of moving with some of our athletes a little bit into those spaces that they're moving to, like gravel. Running, we've got some plans for kind of moving a little bit more into that space. We've got a trail run right now, but there's just a lot of opportunities to provide these events for athletes, and that's just kind of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and what I hear and see with the two of you is not a forcing an event into a place where it sounds like everything has progressed naturally.
Yeah, it's been very organic,
and even like opportunities that the two of you didn't even have planned out. They just kind of were there and needed a couple guys to take over a race or provide a race or create an event. That. So I think hopefully never, but like if people just start creating events for the sake of having an event, then that can become a problem. But if there's a need in an area or a need to take over an event or something, if it's organic, like the way
we've always said that. I mean, we're never going to put on a race unless there's a reason for it. Mm-hmm. There's a hook. There's something that makes it fun. If you look at Road to Hell, that's probably the most fun we've had building out a website. There's purgatory loops for the distances that don't go to hell. There's Dante's Inferno courts all over the place. There's a reason for it to exist. It's fun and it's different. Or it's something like Fondo
that's a great example,
which may have gone away, but it's too important of a race to the community to let that happen. So we're happy to step in and try to carry on that legacy that Bob's created with the MSU Grand Fondo.
Kind of a side thing about the Fondo, that it was always a big, I think it was skin cancer research. Is it still tied to, not necessarily that, but is it tied to another, maybe a nonprofit, or is it tied to something like that?
So every element of the MSU Grand Fondo that made that race what it was it still exists, even though the skin cancer portion, they raised $1.4 million over 8 years for that, which is tremendous. We have since decided to partner with the West Michigan Trails, which is another nonprofit. It's right here in our backyard. Their mission is basically to help promote the trail movement, but also connect trails, so that you've got safer runs, safer rides, and they're the charity designation for this year. So we're still, working with Bob Hughes. Fondo was his baby, and when it kind of went away with MSU, our name kind of got dropped into, I guess, the conversation, just because from a production and infrastructure standpoint, we've got the scale and the experience at this point to be able to pull off a large scale event here, with road closures and municipalities and all of that. But the after party's still there. The rides it's the same routes. It's every piece that people loved before, just with an updated name and an updated charity.
Yeah, sounds good. Very cool. I hope you don't mind me asking all these questions about. I see that the gravel space is still growing and still has space to grow, and I get interested to talk about what's the best way? How can we make sure it grows positively and not taking advantage of a time where we grow too quickly, or gravel grows too quickly, and then you have too many races and not enough people that are interested in them. So when I'm talking to people that are putting on races, I think it's a good conversation to have and talk about how are you approaching it, and how do you see, and I mean, I see it positively and organically, and that's what I hope will continue with the gravel space, at least.
Well, with Waterloo, kind of to that point, we're part of the gravel series that Acker put together and everything, and we love being a part of that and kind of being part of those events, because it does give people a goal to kind of work towards, the point series, and also it exposes them to different races across the area by different people. I mean, I think that's how you kind of keep things healthy, and also too, just kind of like John said, play nice with who's in the space. We all want gravel to continue to grow and to just put on fun events and give people a good time. So I think when you do have events coming in, just for the sake of coming in, Belgian Waffle Ride came in last year, and that's great and everything. That's a great brand, but they're not coming back this year. I don't know that they had the response that they were maybe looking for or have in other areas. So I really think kind of focusing on local races, established ones, any new ones that are filling some holes here and there, we've got, is kind of the way to go. I mean, we want local people to race local.
Kind of on that subject, and it sounds like this kind of fell together for the two of you, and you weren't looking to start a company or start a race. What would you call it? A company? I don't know. What
event management, event production.
Yeah. So the both of you weren't looking to create that, but it became something, and now you have it. Now that you have it, and now that you are directing 9 events, I feel like there is a responsibility for athletes, for the athletes that come to your events. What do you think is some of the most important themes or most important things that you want to make sure that an athlete gets at one of your events?
The number one thing that we say, and we hold true to this, I mean, this is really what we do. I mean, every single decision that we make for an event, it doesn't matter what it is, it comes down to what would be best for the athlete. We, all those athlete-focused decisions are what we build everything else from. We were athletes at some of these events that we now own. I mean, I can remember what it was like to pull up to a GR Tri-on race morning and to go to the expo and kind of the finish line experience and just being part of that. And that's what we keep in mind with what we're doing. I mean, we want them to know that, this isn't necessarily a numbers game for us. We want them to have a great time, be successful with their goals, no matter what they are, and come back. And another thing is we're never kind of resting on kind of any bar that we set or any level that we get to. We're always trying to make it better. How can we improve things, whether it's finish line food or just really little things that they might not even notice, just to make the day run smoother. I mean, we're always trying to do better, and we're asking them, what do you guys want to see? What didn't work well for you? Yeah, it's great to hear, athletes who love the race and love the experience, but what went wrong? Where can we do better? And that's what we're always asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talk to athletes literally every day. And we have enough friends in these spaces, enough friends that do our races, that if we screwed up, they'd let us know. They'd probably take a lot of joy in it because we take a lot of joy in making them do painful activities. That's all we like to do for fun in endurance sports. For some weird reason, we think it's fun. But yeah, we're always looking to improve, and we're always looking to put the athlete first.
Yeah. Even more on a simpler level, the name is Tris4Health, and I think that some of the most important thing that you can do for yourself and for the people around you is probably be a healthy person, and so to seek out those opportunities where you can improve yourself as a person, for your health and for other people's health is pretty damn important, and then to be creating those opportunities for people to better themselves, I think is pretty damn important.
And that's both of our backgrounds is, middle-aged dads and husbands, and we get into these activities to lose weight, to become healthier, to set good examples for our kids. I mean, originally I lost 100+ pounds doing this stuff, probably put a little too much back on during COVID, but now my wife's even started to get into it. She's actually signed up for her first gravel race. She's going to do Waterloo. She got a gravel bike over at Village late last year. She's excited. So that's one of the things we really love about it is not necessarily the fast front of the pack people. It's really cool to watch. It's nothing I'm familiar with, but those mid pack, the people that are coming into Mai Tai at midnight or even later, just getting people healthy, getting them off the couch. Those are inspirational stories, and it's fun to watch.
And to that point, you not necessarily everybody can come in and just do a triathlon. So, when we started, that's all we had. It is pretty daunting. I mean, if you do a relay or something, maybe you can do a 5K with somebody, but still you got to swim, you got to bike. It's daunting. So, picking up these single sport events, like anybody can ride a bike. We've got 10-mile distances at a lot of our events now. I mean, it's super beginner. And, fondos still has the 12-mile family ride, like through Millennium Park. I mean, super accessible entry level into these things, and having a trail run. There's a 5K. We're going to add probably a 1 mile family kids loop that it's over at Mosquito Creek on the lakeshore. So it's just making the barrier to entry almost go away at this point. They literally just have to sign up, and the rest of it should start happening.
And we actually started working with some local women's groups last year as well, which we had a lot of success with. Pam and Donnie, I don't know if you know them, Harper with the gravel race series. We worked with Pam. I think Katie Stone's on spin with you.
Oh, yep.
Just trying to get more women involved. Traditionally it's maybe 10% women at these gravel events, and most of ours were closer to 30% last year.
Oh, fantastic.
And one of the reasons we added those shorter distances was try to get people to come into the sport. People like my wife. I'm still working on his wife, but that shouldn't be too hard.
But people were asking for it too. They're like, "Oh, we'd love to do that event if it had a shorter one." So we added a 10-mile to the Dirty Mitten.
Sure.
Like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Why didn't we think of it?
Yeah, and I mean, kind of back to the more opportunities there are for people, not only the more like different race options or different race length options, but also the more opportunities there are throughout the year, throughout the calendar, locations, helps kind of remove that barrier even more. If they don't have to drive 4 hours to do something and it's half an hour down the road, that just opens up a whole new thing for that person to maybe try, give them that push to try it out.
Exactly.
What about the two of you? I mean, we're talking about all this, and you came from an athlete background, and now that you both are heavily involved in putting races together, how does that affect your own journey as an athlete?
Well, I can tell you that I made, John and I obviously are thick as thieves with this now because, I mean, this is, we talk every day. This is all we do. I mean, 24/7, we're talking about races. I made the mistake of giving him my birth date. He had asked me, "Oh, what's your birthday again?" I figured it was some, form for the work or something. And I start getting race registration confirmations. So I got signed up for the Luton Park time trial last year.
Okay.
He'd never been on a mountain bike.
Never been on a mountain bike, so I got a mountain bike, and I did that. I loved it. It was
Yeah.
awesome. I've gotten a few others since then.
Yeah, what else?
Margie.
Yeah,
50.
you signed me up for Margie 50, which we'll see about that one. I don't know, but just as far as doing the events, we find it pretty difficult to actually sign up for something and do it because this is all we're putting on. I get way more that gratification that I used to get crossing the finish line. It's like 100 times better now seeing other people do it and providing that. And that's really where, we're putting all our focus in. I mean, I'm trying to do some runs here and some swims just to stay somewhat fit and healthy. But, I think that you can either do one or the other when you're putting on this many events. I mean, I can't sign up for an Ironman and do an Ironman. I don't know that I could even have the intention to do a marathon at this point or a super long bike race, but because this is all we're doing. Kind of the last thing I want to do is go home and then, train for something else.
Right, yeah.
So.
What about you, Mosey?
I enjoyed COVID too much, you could say, like bourbon and bad food, and kind of added most of my weight loss back on. So I get probably at least 1 or 2 texts or emails a day from actually our athletes asking me why I'm not on my bike, why I'm not training. And that's pretty inspiring to know that they actually care. So I've been working on that. My wife and I are actually going to ride tonight. Like we said, she signed up for Waterloo. Probably try to find some shorter races I can do with her. I'm signed up for the Crusher MS, the 100 MS with some buddies. Signed up for the Margie 50.
And we're both doing Barry.
Both doing Barry.
Shorter distance.
Yeah, I'm struggling to get on the trainer.
We've talked to other event directors who are putting on a lot of events, and it seems like after about 3 or 4 years, they start kind of getting back into that headspace a little bit, and I can feel it, at least on my end, like I'm feeling that drive a little bit, but I mean, it's not going to be anything crazy at this point,
I'm always interested in people that are like heavily involved in the industry, not just as an athlete or but just that's their livelihood and their work. And my brother owns a bike shop, and it's like I think all he does is bikes, and then he comes home, and is he gonna want to ride a bike or is he gonna want to train? But he does, But it's I'm always interested in how people balance that out. Yeah. And I mean, going back to like health and making sure that your health is a priority. I think that's where too, like if you get too busy making sure that you're providing these healthy opportunities for other people, but you're not taking care of yourself,
exactly.
then I mean then the scale can kind of tip in an odd direction. But
yeah, you do need to try to keep that balance. The one thing too, monetarily, when somebody signs up for a race, I mean, they've got skin in the game. They don't want to lose that money, but we tend to get more free entries now because, so it's kind of that whole, money piece is even out of it now. So it's more of just the drive and the want to do it. And like you said, when you're doing it all day, every day, going home, it's hard to get that motivation, but it's starting to come back.
Nice. I feel like Trevor's looking into my soul as he keeps saying, you need to get healthy.
No. Mosey, I've been kind of following along.
Yeah.
From the outside, and I know that you signed up for Margie 50.
Yep.
And
everybody
I know that you
knows.
And you've kind of put it out there as like an accountability thing. Like I want to make sure and get here, and people, like, if you don't see me doing my part, you can tell me.
Yep.
And so I'm just kind of interested in like thinking about like are both of you making time to make sure that your own health is important as you are creating opportunities for other people to get healthy.
And I'm like I said, I know I mentioned it before, but I'm really excited for my wife to get into cycling because we do most things together. But that's one thing that's never interested her. She said she'd never do a try, but she's always been intrigued by gravel. And seeing some of these women's groups that we've worked with, she's gotten inspired. And I'm looking forward to being able to go out and ride for an hour or two with her.
Nice.
Because she doesn't want to do it on pavement. That scares her.
Yeah.
But doing it on gravel, that sounds fun.
I think it is important for us to still kind of stay athletes to a certain degree, and that's why I think getting involved in, one or two races a year, I think kind of keeps us honest and kind of keeps our focus on the athlete still front and center. Because I mean, eventually, if we're not ever doing an event ourselves, I think you could kind of get lost in the weeds a little bit. Just on the planning and the paperwork and the municipalities and all the stuff that athletes don't even think about. Like, that stuff is really what most of the work is. But I think as long as we're signing up for stuff and doing one or two a year, I think that will go a long way to keep us on the right track.
I think I have two more questions before we wrap this up. And this season will be the first time all 9 of these events have run in one season, right, for you?
Right, because really the only thing we added this year was Fondo.
Yeah.
That popped up out of nowhere last spring, and it was kind of one of those things where it was like, okay, this is a little bit of a game changer just from the scale of it. So we really need to put most of our energy in just kind of taking care of the events that we have, make sure we're getting, participation growth and keeping everything that works about them working, and then executing Fondo correctly and making sure that people have a good ride.
So 9 events, as you explained earlier, as you listed them out, it's going to be a busy season for you, for both of you. What's one of the one of the things that you're most worried about that keeps you up at night? Or
the thing is, we used to freak out. We freaked out in 2021 because we hadn't put on any events. So getting to GR Tri and getting through that was a big one for us then. And I would say at this point we're pretty comfortable with a lot of the events that we put on, except for Fondo.
Yeah.
That's the wild card right now. It's still going to all be the same and it'll be great, but we don't have that previous year's race under our belt with that one. This time next year I'll feel a whole lot better about it. But that's probably for me, I think, the worst.
I just stay up at night thinking about new races.
Well, yeah, it's hard to keep them focused.
But yeah, volunteers are tough.
Yes.
Volunteers are tough post-COVID, especially on the other side of the state. We don't quite have the pull there yet that we do here with Grand Rapids Tri and my time. We'll have 300-400 volunteers at those races. Some of the other ones, Waterloo, Ugly Dog, Road to Hell, we might get 10. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, the races don't need 300 people like GR does, but that's something we're working on. It was a lot of the teams and things over there. That's probably the biggest thing that keeps me up at night, other than planning new routes on Strava.
Yeah. Well, I asked you that question because I really wanted to ask you this question. What are you most looking forward to this season?
For me, it's Fondo.
Yeah.
I really want to knock that one out of the park because, I did it a few times. My wife did it a few times. It was a great race. It was one that we never even really considered. Mm-hmm. but here it is. So, we just want to do a really great job with that one and, help position it for longevity kind of in its new form.
What's the date of that again?
June 24th.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the easy answer. I'll go with Road to Hell. I want to see what we can grow that into, especially now that there's not quite as much happening in the state on that weekend. That was a pretty special course. I was almost giggling when I was driving the course, setting the course the day before, just, early October in Michigan, gravel roads. The trees were just gorgeous. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's got some great potential to it.
That's great.
Plus, giving out some wrestling belts at the Dirty Mitten, that was fun as well.
Those were nuts. Do we still have any here?
We've got some in the
we
back.
We should show Trevor before he leaves.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me over here to your new space. And is there I'm assuming there's a website where all of these races are listed on there.
Yeah, it's Tris4Health, so it's TRIS, the number 4, health.com.
Okay.
So we list everything on there, dates, links to the sites. Registration's open for everything except for the Brainy Day Trail Run right now. That should open in another week or so.
Okay, cool. Well, great, guys. This is fun. It's good to catch up again.
Yeah.
And I look forward to the season and see what else you guys will come up with.
I got a question for Trevor.
Okay.
Which ones are you going to do?
Which
of our gravel events?
That's good. Of your gravel events or just any event?
Any of them.
Well, I'm not going to do a triathlon. I'll tell you that much. I am almost. So Waterloo is the 29th
of April.
I think I'm going to do Waterloo.
Awesome.
And I think I'm going to bring my dad and try to ride it with my dad.
Awesome. We love it.
He is signed up for Barrie for the first time. And also he and my mom grew up in that area.
Oh, cool.
And so he's always wanted to ride those roads. And so I thought, man, I think I'm going to try to get him out there and maybe just ride the, is it the 50K?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just
One
do
loop.
the 50K with him. Possibly the Road to Hell has got my interest peaked a little bit.
It was so fun. It really was. Yeah. It was a cool way to end the season.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I might have to go check that out as well.
Well, then you might as well come do the Dirty Mitten bike too.
Yeah.
So you said the Dirty Mitten is a weekend thing. So is the bike leg on one day and then the triathlon on the other day?
Yeah, and yeah. So basically, we have the venue for the whole weekend, and there's great roads around there that aren't kind of used by the triathlon. So we actually go out of Camp Manitoulin, which is around the Barrie roads and everything, and we go left and kind of go out away from what was the
we go towards Allegan County.
Yeah.
If anyone had done the old Hellcat Hyundai that Cat put on, it uses more of those roads, so it's really different, night and day different from the roads that we use for the tri. It's more farmland, flat. Very, very different. We had a lot of people, 40 or 50 people did both.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was just going to ask that. You should have like an award for people that do.
They got a sweet
a hoodie. Like
this one.
Yeah, we gave them out a hoodie. But
nice.
It's just one of those things, we're not going to ride them the same roads 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
That no one wants to do that. So we gave them something new on Saturday, and it was well received. It was a good day. And
sold out.
Yeah, we had a great day for the tri. So, it's just fun all the time.
Yeah, and you heard that Trevor's going to be at all three now. So autograph signings. We'll get you a KOM cycling tent.
Yeah, great. Perfect. Cool, guys. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thanks, bud.
The Dirty Chain Podcast is a Michigan Midpack Media production in partnership with KOM Cycling, the source for your bike accessories and necessities. Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Dirty Chain Podcast. Email dirtychainpodcast@gmail.com. If you are enjoying the podcast, please leave us a rating and review on whatever platform you use to listen. Audio editing and original music by myself, Trevor Gibney. Thank you to John Conkling and John Mosey from Tris4Health for joining me on this episode. And thank you all for listening to the Dirty Chain Podcast. And as always, keep your chain clean, but get your chain dirty. We will see you in the Midpack.